All right, now it should be good. Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for coming. We are. You might remember that we are working on part 2 now of the Concord T-shirt. Last week we had done some cutting, and this week we're going to talk a little bit about sewing. Sorry, I had to remove my headphones there to make sure I wasn't getting delayed. Delayed audio from my phone because I have to watch the chat on my phone, and then I am also like streaming. Anyway, welcome. Part 2 today. We're looking at what I've got in front of me. I have cut this week. I cut out the rest of my T-shirt that I'm going to try really hard on and do all the little bits and bobs. And then I also cut out what is going to be my quick and dirty version, which is the simple, and I'm going to take sort of all the shortcuts I can possibly take with it. That's going to churn out a T-shirt really easily. So let's just take a look at what I've got here and compare the two right now. And again, here we go. Concord T-shirt from Cashmerette. It's one of my favorite T-shirts. So it's a knit product, and meaning it's a stretchy T-shirt. So and I'm really fond of the pattern. It's very comfortable for me and it's a favorite. So okie dokie. So let's just compare here. So on the this blue one I'm doing, I have I'm doing the bottom hem the way with the facing version. And so we've got two facing pieces here. One's for the front, one's for the back. And then we've got a front piece, and I can tell it's the front piece because it has a V-neck version. Again, this is my first time doing the V-neck version, so that's going to be fun. We have also got a back, and then we've got, these are for on the arms, and then we've also got a neck piece. So there's quite a few pieces here to sew for the more serious version. For the version I'm going to do that's sort of the quick version, what we have, let me switch so you guys can see more. There we go. So now we also, and then this is the sort of my quick version, and I have a neck piece out here, which I did not measure. I did not do the pattern. I just cut a 2-inch strip along the perpendicular to the bias, and then we've got 2 sleeves and a front and a back. And on the front on this one, instead of following the V-neck, I changed it so it was a curve. And in order to do that, I just guessed. I just went up a little bit and made a curve. So that's totally fine. As long as it's within the realm of what a normal neck curve is, it's going to be fine. So you don't have to try so hard sometimes on these things, and it will work out perfectly fine. All right. One thing I want to do that I really love doing for my sewing projects is adding tags. So I have a little tag here that Jessie sent me from Seams. And it's a little shark with a hat, a little shark. And of course, obviously I'm going to match this with my fish print one because why not? Yeah, so that one's going, and I'm actually, again, because I'm trying hard on this one, I'm going to preemptively decide where it's going to go on the shirt, and I'm going to pin it there so I don't forget to add it, because otherwise I almost forget to add it always. So yeah, we'll remember to do that. And then on this one, I got to pick one yet. So here's my stash of labels. I clearly have a thing for labels. I like to match the color, so I'm probably gonna pick out one, maybe this yellow one, but it's not as vibrant as that yellow. But there's also this one, which is a little bit closer, so maybe I'll do that one, but it's got the pink in it. I would have liked to choose a green one, but yeah, it's not quite the same. Yeah, I've got a nice big collection here. I've got some sweary ones, which are funny. Anyway, so lots of options to choose from. Yeah, I think I'll do this guy. Okay, So I'm almost ready to start sewing. The one thing I am going to let you guys know about, which is good to do before you start sewing, is to add some hem tape, some fusible hem tape. This is fusible hem tape from Seams, and so you can get it from there. I think it's a, I can't remember the brand of it anymore. It's So something. So Quick maybe. Either way, this is a really good piece to put on the edges of your hems so that they don't fold up. On this one, because we're doing a lot of attaching seams separately, so like the facing and then the arm bits have this extra bit which we'll attach. We don't have to worry about it there. However, it's good practice to give your shoulder seams on the back some of this facing. So it'd be good to, oops, you can attach a bit here with a fusible hem tape. So say like across there, and then it prevents your neck and shoulders from stretching out there. You can also go across the back of the neck. I have also applied just good old bias tape as well, depending on how heavy and structured you want your shirt. So this one might be a bit much for this, but I have applied it to a heavier weight. Like it was like a sweater that was done out of knit, and it would have really stretched out the neck had I not gone ahead and applied it through the back and on the shoulders. And so I was really glad I did that. This is again from Seams. It's very cute. This has got little space stuff on it. And this is bias tape. I've got actually all sorts of really cute bias tape here. Let's pull some of them out. Again, I got them all from Seams. This one's got like this little floral one. Jessie imported these ones from Japan. Oh, they're so cute. Look at those little flowers. Anyway, I just want to add these. Oh, this one's another space one. Ugh, this one's got like constellations on it. It's super fucking cute. Yeah, anyway. I really just need more excuses to use those. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about sewing. I'm not going to bother to fuse any of these today. I am going to fuse this one later, and I'm going to do it because on this one, we are only going to do hemming. I'm not going to do any facing, and I'm not going to attach any extra armband bits or along the hem of the T-shirt. I'm simply going to just hem it. So when I say I'm going to hem it, I mean it's just going to get rolled up maybe once or twice and sewn. And so to make sure that this doesn't get all curled up on me, I will fuse this on to the bottom, and that will help a lot for that. Okay. Oop. All right. So first things first with this guy, it has well, let's follow the instructions. If I know where they are. Okay, I might not know where they are. I might have put them down somewhere. No, here. Yes. Okay. So I'm pretty sure it's the shoulder seams first. They have you attach shoulders together, and then we go right into the collar. But I'm not going to do that because I want to do the collar with you guys on a separate day, because the collar is kind of a special thing. So, and I wasn't prepared to do the collar today, so we can't be doing the collar today. Yeah, so they have you go right from doing the shoulders into doing the collar, and then they probably also have you do then the sleeves. Yeah, and then the sleeves and then the side. Okay, so we're gonna do the sleeves first, shoulders, sleeves, and yeah, then I will come back over to the curved hem. Here, I'll make it this way. I don't even know if you guys can read that on this camera, but so I'll do shoulders, sleeves, and then next week we'll come back to do the curved hem and the collar and the rest of the hemming. Yeah, okay. So let's get started talking a little bit about how one sews knits, because it's not like woven, in which you use a straight stitch. You want to use a zigzag stitch or a serger or a lightning stitch. So I am going to awkwardly take the camera over to the sewing machine, and we'll talk about that directly on the sewing machine to talk about different settings you can use and how that looks. Okay. Yes. Let's get you just probably gonna make a lot of noise on the microphone. All right. Okay, I should check. Okay. So yeah, if you're also really okay, so I can only sew nice, and unfortunately for me, pinning does not exist in terms of my sewing capabilities because I hate pinning. So we have not pinned anything, even though you should. You could, and it helps keep them in line, especially on the collar. I'll pin because that's a tricky part. But in this one, I am just going to find where I need to be, make sure I'm not sewing the wrong shoulder in, and lining it up. So I'm just, oh, hello, kitty. Yeah, I'm just going to sort of line up the edges there, make sure I'm sort of making sense of the seam allowance. All right, and then I'm gonna get this guy. Okay. So 3/8 seam allowance, make sure you're watching that for wherever it is on your machine. And now let's talk about, so this is my regular machine. This is not my serger, of course. This is a really basic machine too. I'm using my other machine's actually a little bit out of commission right now. So I've got to use my embroidery machine, which is also just a basic computer machine. On here, I still though have enough of the stitches I need to sew with knits. I'm going to wipe us down just a little bit more. I'm not sure if you guys can really see this card, but this card is gonna show me all my stitches I have on I have a couple cards here that show me what number my stitches are. And if you can see this one here, this is a lightning stitch. And it literally, it literally looks like a lightning bolt. Let's see if I can demo this for you guys in a better way. I'll grab a piece of paper here. All right, so lightning stitch literally looks like a lightning bolt. Oh, I guess I grabbed a pen, but it doesn't work. All right, so this is what it's going to kind of look like on your machine. That's a little wonky. But yeah, lightning bolt stitch. This is really excellent for in the seams on the... I don't like top stitching with it because I think it looks wonky, but you could also top stitch with it if you want to. The other one that is really good for a stretch material it's called the triple stitch, and it usually has three markers. And it's because the sewing machine literally goes back. It's like forward, back, forward, back, forward, and then jumps back. And so it's essentially doing like tiny zigzag and then stepping forward. And this allows you to stretch the stitches. I like doing that for a top stitch a lot of times, even though it can really make the stitches prominent. So you have to be careful where that is. But that's a really good one. And then of course the good old zigzag, which is just, and then we'll talk about the settings you want to use for the top stitching of a zigzag versus the seam of a zigzag. You could also do the 3-point zigzag, which is, it's like dash, 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 and then dash, dash, dash. Yeah, so that one is also a very common one on basic machines. Okay, so these are several stitches you can use on just a good old any sewing machine. Let's go ahead and start off with it. So the lightning stitch, you pretty much want to use the basic stitches. So we're not going to go through that one right now because just the auto setting on that was probably going to be good. But the zigzag one can be a little bit trickier because that one allows, that one can be a little bit different depending on your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to the zigzag. And then, so right now my width is set to really, really wide. You can't really see that. Let's lower you down here. Oh, you can't see anything on my screen, but okay. So right now it's set to 5, 5 at my width, and that's, I'm pretty sure, 5 millimeters, and that's pretty wide for me. I don't want that to be that wide. I'm gonna do more like a 2.5 width, and then if we do the stitch separation, I'm gonna stick with a 2 or 2.5, and then that should get me a decent sized stitch for a seam. So let's just give it a try and find out. And as always, we want to do a back stitch, of course. And so I'm already seeing, you guys won't be able to see this just yet, but it seems like they're too far apart a little bit for me. So I'm gonna just go down a little bit on my, yep, this is going. And back stitch, and cut. All right, so let's take a look at this. So you can see where I sort of, it was a little bit too wide. Oh gosh, I don't even know if you guys can see this. It really needs pictures. Anyway, it was slightly too long for me, and then I shortened it down. This makes for a nice sort of a smaller stitch like that. Still allows me to stretch plenty, but when I go to flip it and I see the seam, it's still quite invisible. You're not seeing a ton of thread. You're not seeing a lot of like gapping in between there, which can happen if you choose too big of a stitch. So that is a good amount for a zigzag on the internal. If I was doing a top stitch on this, I would then, so when I go to do the facing on the bottom, I'm going to take that back to the larger width. It's going to be closer to a 4, and then I might even take the length to say a 2.5 or a 3, and that way it just covers a lot more width along this area here to top stitch the facing down. And then it's also just gives a bit more freedom and less puckering. It's not so specific. And that's a really good top stitch. All right, so yeah, I can go ahead here and I'll do, I'm probably gonna do this off camera because you guys don't need to watch me sew for 30 minutes. But the next step again would be just to stitch shoulder and then add the sleeve. So maybe, yeah, let's get the shoulder stitched, and I'm gonna show you guys my version of adding sleeves. So yeah, I'm just going to, you guys are gonna just have to sit through with me as I sew this. Oh shit. So one thing to watch out for as you're sewing with your sewing machine on with knits, you probably can't hear me, is that your machine can eat the edge of your knits because, oh shit, oh well. Because if it gets caught in your plate down here, it sometimes can get pushed down. So it's always good when you're starting on knits to start a little bit ahead and then go backwards versus trying to start on the edge, because your machine, it'll get pulled down into your machine and it'll grab it and get stuck. If that happens, just stop and then move your handle, like your crank, back and forth a little bit just to try and get it loose, and then eventually you'll just pull it out. Try and be gentle with it. You might end up with a hole in your fabric, but oh, I can't believe I messed that up. That's gonna bother me. Yeah, so that, just beware that can happen with knits just because it's so flexible. Sorry guys, now I have to rip this out. Let's do it on the serger, just kidding. Okay, we're gonna do version number 2 on the serger. All right, if you don't know what a serger is, or it's also called an overlocker, it is the machine that gives that more sort of ready-to-wear look to the seams of a shirt. So this guy, medium. Okay. All right, and I'm actually using like the wrong colored thread here. It's probably fine. I don't think it'll show through on this shirt. I think it's thick enough, but we'll find out. Make sure I've got my right seam allowance. All right. So yeah, that was like beautifully fast, and this is, so this might be familiar, the stitching. It's sort of got that, and it stretches. So that's a really beautiful thing about sergers, is that it is one pass and you've got it finished on the edges, on the seam allowance, and it stretches for you, which is incredible. So let's do this other side. So one rule to go by if you are not pinning usually, which I'm not really following right now, is to sew in the same direction if you're not pinning. So, because then it'll pull the same direction every time you go to sew if you're fabric shifting. But I'm not following any of the rules today. I'm just getting it done. All right. So we've got, so yeah, that didn't, yeah, it's not really showing at all. If this was white, I'd be a little bit sad with this black thread, but it's fine. Okay, let's get the sleeves ready. I hope you should still be able to hear me when I swap this over. Here we go. Okay, so the sleeves are another point in which sometimes I will pin it and sometimes I won't. I'll do one and see how that goes. The most important thing on this pattern is that the one notch goes, because these are, what is this? These are not symmetrical sleeves. They have a slight difference to them. So make sure you put your front to the front of the pattern and your back to the back. So here we go, matching front bit. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll sort of pin along here, make sure it's all going to hold up. And it looks like it's going to be a touch short, which probably means we're going to need to stretch the sleeve a little bit as we go. There's probably some built-in ease. So when you are doing pinning or clipping in this case, because I like wonder clips, you start from either end and then meet in the middle. And also, although I'm doing this one on this serger, when it comes to the sleeve and the collar, I am going to first attach it with a zigzag stitch with a regular sewing machine because serger stitches are very hard to deal with if you've made a mistake. And it is very easy to, when attaching a sleeve, to accidentally clip a piece of the fabric in the wrong way, resulting in rather the fabric being folded and pinched, or it being just like totally off kilter and like it doesn't fit the body part well. So it's just best practice, I would say, just to do like a basting stitch across first and then go in and do your serger stitch, and same with the collar. It's really easy to mess up the collar, especially if you're kind of free, like you're winging it. So, all right, let's go back over on the sewing machine. Okay, so this time I am going to use the lightning stitch just to make a little bit of a narrower stitch along. Well, actually, no. I'm taking that back because I said I was going to baste this. So yeah, let's make it a basting stitch then. And so yeah, that means I'm going to widen out the zigzag, and I am also going to make it a much longer stitch. So
And I'm going to go closer than I would normally because I'm not going to give as much seam allowance as I would for the final version. I'm going to take it a little bit closer. And I'm also not going to back stitch on the base. So when I do a lot of readjusting. This is why I don't typically pin, is because when I'm attaching a sleeve, I kind of just tuck it around the edge as it sort of meets. I'm not trying to force the whole thing. You don't want the whole thing to lay flat the whole time. That's just not going to happen. You want just the bit you're sewing. So you're going to slowly make sure that these are meeting to where they need to, that nothing's curling up, it's all laying flat. And you're just going to do a little bit at a time. You're not going to worry about the whole thing being under control. You're just going to worry about the part you're sewing being under control. Because otherwise you'll run into a mess if you try to make a curved edge and a flat edge meet. And you see how it's like, I'm even like separated there. It's like, oh my God, they're not going to meet up. Well, it's fine. I'm just going to, they were meeting up and they still are meeting up. And I'm going to do just the bit in front of the foot. I'm not going to worry about doing it the whole time. So when I'm pausing, taking my foot off of what we'll call the gas pedal, and then readjusting. And if I had pins in there, I could have pinned this like 5,000 times and had all those pins ready, and that's also good practice. And then you'd be stopping, pulling out pins, making sure everything's aligned. So it's the same deal. It's depending on what your comfort level is for things that, one way might be faster, or it's just what I've found sometimes is that if I overpin, I'll end up with the fabric gathering in weird ways and like not lining up anyway, and so I've just done all that work for no reason. So sometimes I just stick to this. Perfect. So I think that went out smoothly, but sometimes I'm completely wrong and I just didn't catch something. But yeah, I'll turn it back out. And so now we can really see that stitching because this is a basting stitch. And so that looks no good. You never want to keep that in there. But what I'm looking for is to see if I've pinched any fabric in here when I've sewn over it. But it looks really good. I think it looks really clean. No problems here. I'm really happy for that. And I would now go over that with the serger and probably pull out, if I don't end up trimming that while I serge it, I'll rather pull out those stitches entirely or they'll be hidden. I'll just leave them in. All right, so I could do that. I think I'll do it off screen now, the other sleeve. And then, so I'll do the other sleeve the same way, attaching this one. And then I would be popping down on the side seams. So for the version I'm just hemming, I will be going onto the side seams and then hemming and then doing the collar. For the version with the facing, I need to do the bottom facing before I do the side seams. But yeah, I think you guys don't need to watch me sew to do that because that sounds boring. So I think for now, this is all we would cover for today. And it's been 30 minutes, so that seems like a good amount of time. Don't want you guys... Yeah. All right. There we go. Sorry for the awkward movements. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's I think all we'll cover for today. Yeah. So between next week and this week, so in the next week, I'll finish up sewing the side seams on the ones I can do. I will finish putting up on the sleeves. And I will probably also attach the hem facing for the one I want to on this version. And then next week, together, we will attach the facing on the bottom and the collars. And I won't forget to add the tag on the fish one so that I have a good place for it. All right, I think that's all for this week. Thanks for being here, you guys. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer anything, or if you need any guidance for doing the Concord T-shirt. Okay, we'll see you guys next time.